In all the stories we tell ourselves about leadership, there's one narrative that persists, the story that leaders come into the world with a calling. They arrive here, so to speak, as though woven with threads of courage, intuition, and resilience. And they are often shaped not only by circumstances, but by something inherent, an unteachable quality that the world recognizes when it sees it. Now, in that story, there's something we're only just beginning to fully understand. It's the notion that some of these natural-born leaders are, indeed, born women. For far too long, the idea of leadership has carried with it certain symbols, often ones of masculinity. Strength, decisiveness, authority, yes, these are important. But a new dimension has emerged, and it is profound, rooted in qualities we are now learning to value: compassion, wisdom, and a relational intelligence that connects people rather than divides them. Women who are born leaders have something I would call an intuitive grace. It's a sense that sees beyond competition, beyond winning and losing, to the true purpose of any endeavor to uplift, to inspire, and to create. It is a natural inclination to nurture, not in a passive sense, but in a way that grows and empowers those around them. The nature of leadership has long been wrapped in the idea of control, the notion that leaders, with their power and influence, can dictate outcomes, steer people, and shape the world according to their vision. But what if true leadership is less about control and more about guiding within the rhythms of life, like a dance? Leadership, when viewed as a dance, is fluid and responsive. A dancer doesn't try to control the music, they don't force the beat to change to match their steps. Instead, they learn to feel the rhythm, to move with it, to anticipate the shifts in tempo, to adapt. In this way, a leader doesn't impose rigid structures on people or events. Instead, they recognize that life is in constant motion, unpredictable, and beautiful in its unfolding. True leaders flow within this unpredictability rather than wrestle with it. They engage with it as one engages with music: attentive, responsive, and harmonious. Control, in the traditional sense, is an illusion that often hampers effective leadership. Leaders are taught to strategize, to anticipate every possible scenario, to prepare for contingencies as if every variable could be accounted for. Yet reality resists such taming. Circumstances change, people change, and outcomes rarely align precisely with initial plans. Leaders who are rigid in their desire for control can find themselves battling against these natural shifts, losing their connection to what's actually unfolding. Instead, those who understand the illusory nature of control allow themselves to move with change, to shift their strategies, to embrace the unplanned, and to allow serendipity to play its role. They learn that resilience isn't about resisting, it's about flowing. In the dance of leadership, there is also the vital element of partnership. Dancers are not simply solitary figures moving on stage, they often move in synchrony with others, intuiting each other's steps, responding to each other's movements, creating a unity that is stronger than any one performer. Similarly, great leaders understand that they do not act alone. They create an atmosphere where people feel valued, where ideas are shared, where contributions are acknowledged. A true leader cultivates a space in which everyone becomes a part of the dance, contributing their own movements to the overall rhythm. In doing so, they create a dynamic of co-creation where individuals feel empowered, and the leader themselves becomes simply one of many instruments, allowing the greater symphony to emerge. By letting go of the illusion of control, leaders discover the power of presence. Just as a dancer must be fully present in each moment, attuned to the beat and their partner, leaders who embrace the dance of leadership become grounded in the present. They are not preoccupied with enforcing a specific outcome, but instead remain aware of what's happening right now. This presence allows them to perceive subtle shifts in their team, the undercurrents of emotions, and the emerging potential in situations that those clinging to rigid control might miss. Leadership as a dance reminds us that the journey is not about perfect execution, but about harmony and flow, responsiveness and connection. True leadership emerges when we let go of control and embrace the shared rhythm of humanity, moving as one with the world around us. The pursuit of leadership in many ways is a pursuit of identity, a desire to be seen, to be recognized, to leave a mark. Yet, in the paradox of leadership lies a profound truth: the most impactful leaders are often those who learn the art of becoming nobody. This doesn't mean they lack personality, vision, or strength. Instead, it means they have learned to step beyond the ego, to dissolve the need for personal validation, and to serve in a way that allows others to flourish. To become nobody is to let go of the layers of self-importance that often accompany positions of authority. So much of what we do in life is tied to our sense of identity. We seek titles, achievements, and accolades as a way of proving our worth. But in the context of leadership, clinging to these markers can become a burden. Leaders consumed by their own image or preoccupied with maintaining control tend to miss out on the subtleties of human connection. They forget that the goal of leadership is not to be revered, but to inspire others to realize their own potential. Leaders who practice the art of becoming nobody can connect with people on a level that transcends hierarchy. They recognize that their role is not to be placed on a pedestal, but to serve as a support, a guide, and sometimes even a shadow. They listen more than they speak, and they observe more than they direct. In doing so, they foster an environment where ideas can emerge naturally and individuals can feel empowered to step into their own potential. These leaders are not invested in receiving credit because the outcomes, the growth, progress, and collective success speak for themselves. The leader's ego is a quiet companion rather than the center of attention. The process of becoming nobody requires humility, and this humility is a pathway to wisdom. When leaders let go of their own agendas and allow themselves to be fully present, they see beyond the surface. They begin to notice the strengths, needs, and potential in others without clouding their judgment with preconceived notions or personal biases. This clarity becomes a tool for creating teams and organizations that are grounded in authenticity, cooperation, and trust. Leadership rooted in this kind of clarity is rare, and its impact is profound because it's leadership not driven by self-interest, but by genuine service. In becoming nobody, a leader also learns resilience. When one's identity is not tied to a title, role, or outcome, the natural fluctuations of life become less threatening. Success and failure both lose their sting because neither defines who the leader is. They become, instead, simply part of the journey, a movement in the dance of life. This perspective allows leaders to take risks, embrace innovation, and encourage others to do the same without the fear of personal loss. Ultimately, the art of becoming nobody is an art of liberation. It frees the leader from the shackles of ego, allowing them to live fully in each moment and respond authentically to the needs of those they lead. Paradoxically, in becoming nobody, a leader becomes everything to those they serve, not as a distant figure, but as an integral part of the shared experience. It is through this quiet, grounded presence that they make the most lasting impact, inspiring others not through force, but through example, and not by standing out, but by standing alongside. In a world driven by constant conversation, rapid communication, and the endless exchange of ideas, we often overlook the importance of silence. Silence, though seemingly empty, holds a depth that words alone cannot convey. There is wisdom in the spaces between our words, in the pauses we take, and in the moments when we choose to listen instead of speak. This silence, subtle yet profound, can become a source of insight and clarity for those who embrace it. The spaces between words are often where true understanding emerges. When we speak, we tend to focus on making our point, asserting our ideas, or conveying information. Yet, in doing so, we often miss the nuances of what lies beneath. Silence allows us to process not only what is said, but also the emotions, intentions, and complexities behind the words. It is in these quiet moments that we begin to see beyond the surface, to understand the motivations, fears, and dreams that shape people's actions and choices. Listening to silence requires a special kind of attentiveness. It asks us to set aside our own agendas, to release our impulse to fill every pause with more words, and to open ourselves to what might not be immediately clear. This attentiveness can reveal truths that elude us in the noise of constant conversation. A leader who values silence, for instance, learns to tune into what their team members are hesitant to say, what remains unspoken in meetings, or the quiet concerns that surface only when there is space to be heard. This wisdom, drawn from silence, creates a depth of understanding that can't be achieved through words alone. In conversations, silence also has a grounding effect. It creates a pause in which everyone has a chance to reflect, recalibrate, and reconnect with their own thoughts. This moment of introspection allows both speaker and listener to return to the conversation with fresh clarity, an openness to new perspectives, and often a greater sense of purpose. In this way, silence serves as a bridge, a place of gathering and recentering, rather than a gap to be filled. Silence can also be a source of creative inspiration. In the stillness, ideas often arise that would never emerge in the rush of continuous dialogue. Many artists, writers, and thinkers find that their most profound insights come in moments of quiet solitude. These moments allow us to access the deeper, often hidden layers of the mind and to connect with thoughts and ideas that are beyond the reach of our conscious, logical processes. In the silence, we allow our thoughts to settle, and from this stillness, new ideas can emerge naturally, without the pressure to perform or impress. The wisdom of silence is, in many ways, a wisdom of humility. It reminds us that we don't always have to know, say, or do something immediately. Silence gives us the space to acknowledge our limitations, to recognize that sometimes the greatest understanding comes from simply being present. It is in these quiet moments that we find not only clarity but also a deeper connection to ourselves and others. So, rather than fearing silence or rushing to fill it, we can learn to embrace it, to let it be a teacher. In the spaces between words, we discover a depth that enriches both our relationships and our inner lives. Silence becomes a wellspring of insight, a source of strength, and a reminder that sometimes the most profound truths are found not in what is said, but in what is left unsaid. Leadership has often been defined by titles, roles, and hierarchical positions, yet true influence does not stem from these external markers. Genuine leadership arises from within, from the deep well of one's own authenticity, values, and purpose. This is what it means to lead from the soul, not the role. It is an approach to leadership that transcends position and instead roots itself in character, integrity, and inner alignment. Leading from the soul begins with self-awareness. Leaders who operate from their true selves are not confined by a set of prescribed behaviors or forced expectations. They know who they are, what they stand for, and are guided by values that remain steady regardless of changing circumstances. When leaders are anchored in their soul, they approach each decision and interaction from a place of clarity, wisdom, and compassion. They understand that leadership is not about controlling others, but about inspiring them, not about achieving power, but about empowering those around them. This kind of leadership builds connection and trust because it is real and relatable. People are drawn to leaders who are genuine, who reveal themselves not just through what they say, but through their actions, and who do not wear a mask of authority. These leaders encourage authenticity in others by embodying it themselves, creating a culture where people feel safe to bring their full selves into the work. This environment, built on trust and openness, allows for deeper collaboration, creativity, and resilience within a team. People are more willing to take risks, share ideas, and support each other when they know they are seen and valued beyond their roles. Leading from the soul also requires humility. Such leaders are aware that they do not have all the answers and that wisdom often comes from those around them. They listen deeply, valuing diverse perspectives and recognizing the unique strengths each person brings to the table. They are not driven by ego, but by the purpose they find in their work and the people they serve. This humility allows them to approach leadership as a shared journey rather than a solo endeavor. Instead of focusing on their own accomplishments, they find fulfillment in the success and growth of others. A soul-led leader is also resilient because their strength is not tied to their title or status. They are grounded in something deeper, which allows them to face challenges and setbacks with grace. When leaders derive their identity from their soul, they remain steady even when external circumstances change. They are less concerned with appearances and more focused on the impact of their actions. This resilience encourages those around them to remain committed and adaptable, knowing that their leader will stand by them with unwavering support. Ultimately, leading from the soul is about service. These leaders see themselves as stewards, entrusted with the well-being and growth of those they lead. They understand that their role is temporary, but that their influence can be lasting. They are not working to leave a legacy of personal achievement, but to cultivate an environment where others can thrive long after they're gone. This selflessness is what makes soul-led leadership so powerful, as it is rooted not in self-interest but in a genuine desire to uplift others. When leaders lead from the soul, they inspire more than compliance, they inspire hearts and minds. They create a sense of purpose that goes beyond individual ambitions and connects to a collective vision. Such leadership invites each person to lead from their own soul, too, creating a ripple effect that transforms not just organizations but lives. It is a leadership that endures because it touches something timeless, something that exists beyond titles and roles, something that speaks directly to the human spirit. Compassionate leadership is a style rooted not in authority or control, but in empathy and understanding. It reflects a deep awareness of others' experiences, strengths, and needs, creating a mirror that allows people to see themselves more clearly. Compassionate leaders recognize that their role is not to dictate from a distance, but to stand alongside their team, guiding and supporting with respect and care. In doing so, they foster an environment where people feel safe, valued, and empowered to bring their best selves forward. A compassionate leader understands the power of listening. They do not rush to offer solutions or impose their own ideas, but instead take the time to truly hear what others are expressing both in words and in what remains unspoken. This type of listening goes beyond surface-level interactions. It seeks to understand the person beneath the role, acknowledging the complexities and vulnerabilities each individual brings. Through this process, leaders create a culture of trust and openness. People feel seen and appreciated, and they are more willing to share their challenges, insights, and ideas, knowing that they will be met with understanding. The mirror of compassionate leadership is one that reflects not only strengths but also areas for growth. Compassionate leaders approach this reflection with gentleness, offering feedback in a way that is constructive rather than critical. They recognize that growth is a process and that people are more likely to evolve when they feel supported rather than judged. This approach empowers individuals to confront their limitations without fear and to see their potential through the encouragement of someone who genuinely cares about their progress. A compassionate leader holds up a mirror that says, "I see your challenges, and I believe in your ability to overcome them." Compassionate leadership also involves modeling vulnerability. When leaders are open about their own struggles and limitations, they demonstrate that it is okay to be imperfect. This vulnerability humanizes them, breaking down the barriers that often separate leaders from their teams. When people see a leader who is authentic and willing to acknowledge their own journey, they feel more comfortable embracing their own imperfections. This shared humanity fosters a culture where people support each other, where asking for help is not seen as weakness but as a natural part of growth. Furthermore, compassionate leadership extends beyond individual interactions to influence the broader culture of an organization. A leader who consistently models empathy and respect sets a standard that others naturally begin to follow. This influence creates a ripple effect, shaping a community where people are encouraged to treat each other with kindness and understanding. In such a culture, collaboration flourishes and conflicts are resolved with a focus on shared goals rather than personal grievances. People are motivated not by fear of failure or desire for approval, but by a sense of belonging and purpose. Ultimately, compassionate leadership is about serving others. Compassionate leaders understand that their role is not to dominate or control, but to empower others to achieve their fullest potential. They lead by example, showing that true strength lies in kindness, that true influence is earned through respect, and that true success is found in the growth and happiness of those they lead. This form of leadership leaves a lasting impact, as people carry forward the lessons of empathy and compassion long after the leader's direct influence has ended. In a world often focused on results and efficiency, compassionate leadership stands as a reminder that people are not simply resources to be managed, but individuals with unique contributions to make. The mirror of compassionate leadership reflects a truth that goes beyond productivity or performance metrics. It shows people that they matter, that they are capable, and that they are part of something greater. This reflection, rooted in empathy and respect, becomes the foundation for a more inspired, connected, and resilient community. In a world that constantly urges us toward achievement, success often becomes the primary goal. From a young age, we're taught to set targets, strive to accomplish them, and then reach for the next one in an endless cycle. Yet beneath the rush to achieve, There lies a quieter, deeper journey, a journey beyond mere accomplishment. This journey is not about reaching outward milestones, but about cultivating inner understanding, fulfillment, and wisdom. When we focus solely on achievement, we place our sense of self-worth on external results. We celebrate the highs, feel discouraged by the lows, and often judge ourselves by where we stand on the spectrum of success. Yet, as many eventually discover, achievements alone cannot provide lasting fulfillment. Once a goal is reached, the satisfaction it brings is often fleeting, soon replaced by the desire for something more. True fulfillment, however, comes not from collecting accomplishments, but from realizing who we are, what we value, and how we can contribute to something greater than ourselves. The journey beyond achievement invites us to shift our focus from external success to internal growth. It challenges us to explore our motivations and to understand what genuinely brings meaning to our lives. This path involves a willingness to question why we pursue certain goals and to consider whether they align with our deeper values. In doing so, we uncover aspects of ourselves that achievement alone cannot reveal: our capacity for compassion, resilience, creativity, and connection. These qualities are not shaped by external rewards, but by inner discovery and self-acceptance. This journey is not without challenges. Moving beyond a results-driven mindset requires us to confront our fears and insecurities. We may fear that without constant achievements, we'll lose our sense of identity or worth. But as we step away from the need to prove ourselves, we find a different kind of strength, a strength rooted in self-knowledge rather than validation from others. In letting go of the need to constantly do, we give ourselves the freedom to simply be. This allows us to embrace ourselves not as a list of accomplishments, but as individuals with inherent value, purpose, and potential. The journey beyond achievement also leads us to discover the power of presence. When we are no longer fixated on future goals or past failures, we become fully engaged with the present moment. This presence opens up a deeper appreciation for life as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. We start to notice the beauty in simple things, find joy in small acts, and value experiences not for what they can lead to, but for what they are. Living in the present allows us to find contentment in the process rather than waiting for a specific outcome to feel fulfilled. Ultimately, the journey beyond achievement brings us closer to our authentic selves and allows us to connect more deeply with others. Without the need to compete or compare, we find a new source of motivation, a desire to contribute, to serve, and to make a positive impact. This shift from personal success to shared purpose transforms our understanding of achievement itself, turning it into a means for growth and connection rather than an end in itself. In reaching beyond achievement, we learn that true success is not defined by accomplishments, but by the person we become along the way. This journey, grounded in purpose and guided by self-awareness, leads us to a life that is rich not in trophies or titles, but in meaning and fulfillment. And as we walk this path, we begin to realize that the greatest journey we can undertake is the one that takes us beyond external success and into the depths of who we truly are.